Hey guys, welcome back to TohirT channel. Tahir is here. I hope you guys had a fantastic week. As always, everyone was good. Okay, you are enjoying the first week of spring. I would have said yes for ourselves, for people who live in the tri-state area in the United States, but when you look outside, this is what you see.
It is March 2nd, so we're into March now, which officially is meteorological spring. But here comes the snow for the second day in a row, and we're not done with this one. We've got another one behind it. It's accumulating and causing all sorts of problems here in the Northeast and across a huge part of the country.
Spring! Yeah, I know. At some point, I think I need to get used to the fact that the seasons will be all over the place with the global warming, but in any case, we're not talking about the global warming today. Today we are... Oh, and by the way, I am wearing the Boba Fett t-shirt because I was supposed to wear it in my prior video, but it was dirty, so I couldn't wear it. I had to throw it in the laundry, and now that it's nice and clean, I was hell-bent on wearing it, as well as I forgot to update my number in one of the prior videos. So yeah, a few technical glitches here and there, but we're back, we're on, we're golden. Today's video is the summary of my thoughts after reading a book called Coddling of the American Mind. That book covers a lot of the events, a lot of the reasons why we see certain trends in our society in the modern day and age. This book was released relatively recently, so it covers a lot of recent events, and it got me really thinking on a few various topics that I'm gonna cover today. I'm not opening the book club, I promise, but I am at least sometimes interested in bringing some of the thoughts that I have as I'm reading those books, because hopefully they bring value to you and maybe incentivize and motivate you to actually read the same book as well. So let's just jump straight into it. As I hit stop on recording of the prior section, I realized, let's just jump straight into it. Does sound very similar to the Philip DeFranco.
My name is Philip DeFranco, and let's just jump into it.
Damn it, I'll have to stop using it now because otherwise I'll feel like I'm just completely stealing that. I already have the background and I'm talking social topics. The last thing I need to do is that, how are you doing? You're my bastards, or whatever he says. It's like, let's just jump straight into it. Terrible impression of Philip DeFranco. Let's go. Okay, Coddling of the American Mind. The book talks about the outrage culture, about the reasons and things that led to us essentially developing into this monstrosity between not processing the facts correctly or processing them, but taking our own angle, alternative facts, so to speak. At the same time, how the social media augments that whole negative reality and pushes it onto other people, and essentially keeping everyone constantly stressed, constantly at each other's throats, constantly looking for things to get outraged about. This is what the book is. I know it sounds stressful already by the description, but it actually opened my eyes on a lot of things that even I'm myself doing wrong. So we'll start with 3 reasons that I think led us to that kind of a culture, and at the end I will try to at least offer a partial solution or a way to change the approach to this current situation and how we can change it one fact at a time. For reason number 1, let's start with social media itself. As you might have heard, social media shortened our attention span already. We have this instant gratification culture where we want to get the news in and we want to quickly get our opinion out and move on to the next topic. So in that kind of environment, instead of conducting a proper analysis, instead of thinking through the facts and making a judgment based on reasonable assumption as well as known facts, we have this almost like a race, an exercise to draft this like wittiest tweet or the Facebook post in the hopes to hoard as many likes or retweets as possible and to go viral. What it turns into is that author of that tweet or post becomes the judge, jury, and executioner, and without even knowing, they can change the way people perceive the news, because again, we have short attention span. People just read the headlines, or they quickly read one simple tweet and they think that this is the entire situation and they react to it, and all of a sudden snowball just keeps growing and growing, and at the end of the day we moved completely away from the main reason why a particular situation started. So social media, you're the first one to blame. Reason number 2 is how soft we made the current generation and the new generations when it comes to arguing against tough topics or even processing information that might not necessarily sit well with the way you perceive the world. And when I think about it, listen and hear me out throughout the entire point before fully again judging and reacting to what I'm about to say, is really what, again, very political term, but I am going to use it, that snowflake culture, where we have things like trigger warnings before some very tough information that someone is about to receive, as well as the safe places that universities and schools start creating around their campuses. I'll use Merriam Webster Dictionary to help me out on defining the safe space. The way it is described in the dictionary is safe spaces as a place, as on a college campus, intended to be free of bias, conflict, criticism, or potentially threatening actions, ideas, or conversations. I hope I'm not the only one who sees something wrong with that concept. Essentially, right now we mostly see it around the colleges and universities, but eventually I can imagine that schools like middle schools and high schools, at least here in the United States and most likely in Europe, start implementing the same practices as well. So all of a sudden you take people away and you try to almost like shelter them against the conflict, which does not help at all. Educational systems, schools, education in general, its role is to not make us feel comfortable. Education is there to make us think and process the facts. The most thought-provoking ideas can be critical to your current viewpoint. They will take you outside of your comfort zone. They can be even biased by the person who is presenting them, but it doesn't mean you just need to shut them off and hide into that safe space. You are able as a person to process the facts. You are able to critically think through them, analyze, and if you disagree, create a good argument in return. Hiding in a safe place, being all cuddled with a blanket protection against the critical ideas will not help you out there in the real world. Once those people leave colleges and once they leave the schools, they realize that people do not care about making you comfortable. They do not care in most part to make you feel good. So you have to take care of yourself. And if education did not prepare you for that reality, they did not prepare you for being faced by critical people, being faced by arguments that do not respect your viewpoint, then did it actually help you? Or did the school do you a disservice by creating that blanket and not exposing you and teaching you how to tackle those kind of situations? Reacting to those ideas with tweets, Facebook posts, or some sort of outrage in the streets is not it. And with all of that said, I do have to add the disclaimer to say that there's also a concept that's called safe zones, if I recall them correctly. And those are the places where people of similar minority representation, whether it's cultural, religious, whether it's sexuality or something else, go get together, meet with each other, discuss the topics that are relevant to them. I do not talk about those. I primarily focus on the safe places, those rooms, classrooms, whatever shape they take, where you are not exposed to triggers. This is one of the worst behaviors. Even if you read a little bit about PTSD, some of the other like panic attacks, anxiety attacks, one of the worst things you can do to those people is try to protect them against the triggers. Those people throughout their therapies learn how to essentially cope with the triggers, how to process them, how to combat them. Here it's exactly the same. You need to learn how to process and combat those triggers. You need to learn how to process critical ideas, maybe incorrect ideas that you need to argue back instead of just constantly getting outrage about it. So your safe places is the reason number 2. Before I mention the third factor that contributes to this entire situation, let's quickly summarize. We have the short attention span from social media and the constant desire to react quickly and send your opinion out there. And you have those people who do that and avoid the triggers as they grow up and as they learn how to cope with critical ideas. Now you pile on top of that cherry of constantly evolving and changing society. And I think it changes even faster today than it used to 10, 50, 100 years ago. You have different people shifting throughout the world. There's an emigration. There are different new socio groups essentially being created in the same spot, whether it's again around new religions, around new found cultures, around sexuality, around whatever there is out there that people are into, and they slowly create groups around it. So you have this constant shift and mix of different things around you. All that change, all that evolution in our society is very hard to keep up. Even if you're on top of every single news channel and the new media, you will still have a hard time tracking all the changes. So all of a sudden you have this fruitful ground for misunderstanding, and that misunderstanding augmented with the other 2 factors leads to a conflict. For example, if you're not up to speed with the usage of the latest pronouns, or if you're emigrating from a more conservative society and into the more progressive one, you can make a mistake. You can poorly phrase something, and because of the fact that currently it's almost like a frontier justice, your misphrased statement out there in the world now moves at the speed of a tweet. It gets augmented and reacted to at the speed of a tweet. So all of a sudden, the small misunderstanding, the small phrase that could have been just it could have been forgotten, gets augmented to a full-blown conflict that can potentially cost someone their career or even their livelihood. All of these and much more is explained in a much better way in that book, The Coddling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt. Make sure to read it, skim through it, listen to it, do whatever you can, because it is a very good and informative read. To not leave you without at least a partial answer, I'm here to share my approach to how I tackle this challenge, because I'm not perfect. I've made those calls, I've made those judgments within a single tweet, I've retweeted something, I made a Facebook post about something, and yes, sometimes it was done in the hopes of grabbing the attention because there's this like evil mind or like whatever, small thing sitting on your shoulder just telling you, yeah, just hit that enter, do it, do it, do it.
So I say do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it.
To combat it, I choose principle of charity. I choose to believe that people in general do not mean bad to each other. They do not have the ill will of making someone hurt. So maybe there was a case of misunderstanding. Maybe something that they said made more sense in their language or in the culture that they're coming from. Maybe there's some other completely new perspective that I do not even know about, different facts that I'm not familiar with that make them think that particular way. So before jumping to a conclusion, I choose to sit back, process and analyze what they just said and try to factor in all the other things that affect their point of view. And yes, if they turn out to be like this jerk of jerks and they really meant when they said something really awful, you know what? Screw that. Send all the tweets, sell on the Facebooks, just go after them. They deserve it. It is hard, I know. It takes more time. You are required to investigate, you are required to invest more effort into understanding every single headline where, you know, that brain wants to just move at the pace of a click, at the pace of a single headline. But we all have to do that. We all have to commit our time and our efforts to reverse this negative trend of the constant outrage. And at the end of the day, do you really want to live in the world where you always think that everyone is after someone or after yourself? That's a sad and depressing world to live in. And I think we're in control of it. No, I know we're in control of it. There is a very good saying out there. When the events take place, they're not inherently good or bad. It's all about how you perceive them. Do you find yourself being triggered more frequently today than a couple of years ago? What are the ways you use to keep your head cool as you process controversial facts? And what are the other developments, in your opinion, in our society that are evolving and boosting this outrage culture? Make sure to leave your opinion in the comment section below. Trust me, I know we can go on and on this topic. We can talk about other factors that are possibly affecting all of us, but I'm gonna stop right here. And all I have to say to you is thank you very much for stopping by. If you're new to this channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and check out the videos in the backlog. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for stopping by. As always, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this video, and I will see you all next Saturday, 10 AM Eastern, on this very channel. Listen, I know I'm far from perfect, but I made a decision to work on myself. I made a decision to combat that negative trend because I want to give a fair chance to everyone out there. And I truly believe I make mistakes, other people make mistakes, and we should not take them completely down just because of that single mistake. This news cycle, it moves too fast. By the time we actually went and apologized to someone, everyone already forgot about them. And next time someone Googles their name, that whole debacle that they were in will come up, even if they were wrongfully in that debacle. So just be careful, be thoughtful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.